Hi, my name is Sum.
And my name is Colina.
Together, we're Coffee Project New York.
We own several coffee shops in New York City with a roastery, and we teach coffee skills to coffee professional and coffee aficionados alike. Today we're in our Specialty Coffee Association Premier Training Campus, and we will be making every espresso.
Well, almost every espresso-based drink. We're definitely going to be making all the classics, some more fun drinks, but definitely by the end of this, you will be able to walk comfortably into a coffee shop and identify most of the drinks on the menu. We have two different types of espresso machine in here. This is an automatic espresso machine, and this is a manual espresso machine.
An automated espresso machine has a steam wand that's built in. You use the steam wand to froth milk, and you'll be able to make drinks such as cappuccinos and lattes. And the portafilter is a part of this machine. In the portafilter, you'll be able to see a basket with very, very fine holes, and we use a temper to create a compact coffee bed and extract espresso.
We have two kinds of scales here for consistency. First, we have to measure how much espresso that we're putting into the portafilter. Secondly, we'll need the scale to measure how much water that goes through the portafilter and yield as espresso in the final cup.
We have two different types of grinders, a manual hand grinder and an automated grinder.
So this is a nut box. All the coffee grinds that is stuck in your portafilter is really compact together. You need something to hit on, therefore your puck falls off. So you also need espresso beans. It's roasted slightly longer than usual. The beans that we use today, it is of a medium roast, but remember, you can pick any beans that you like and make it into an espresso because espresso is a brewing method and not just the beans.
Espresso, manual. So espresso, by definition, is actually a brewing method that uses pressure to push water through a compact coffee bed. You actually don't need a really expensive espresso machine in order to achieve that result.
We're going to use a hand grinder for this manual espresso machine. Awesome. They should feel somewhat like sand powder.
The Specialty Coffee Association, SCA, would actually ask for you to brew an espresso using a 1 to 1.5 to 1 to 2.5 coffee to water ratio.
I'll be using 17 grams of espresso. So the funnel above it is half full. Even it out by just shaking it around. Tempting. So now I have fully prepared the puck. We're gonna start extraction. Place the puck right here. This is an anti-water flow funnel, which I'm gonna attach it on the top.
The whole purpose is to build a chamber for us to create that pressurized water going through the compressed coffee bed.
I preheat my kettle water ahead of time, and this is actually at 200 Fahrenheit. Rough measurement, there's a tiny line in there where I can actually put it in. So somewhat at your line. Attach this little handle here into it. Start, push. I'm actually yielding this at 30 grams with the time about 32 seconds.
Different pressure will actually give you different sort of taste profile. For a standard espresso shot, usually you get about 9 bars.
I am currently using my whole body weight to press. And look, it has a really nice texture, crema, the thinner, clearer line. That's what we call the crema. Crema essentially is all the coffee oil and gas that was built up from the pressure of extraction. And at the bottom of it, that is where the coffee is. Instead of just drinking out of the cup with the crema, some people shake it, or I like it with a spoon, give it a stir, slurp. Delicious. You get to taste a lot more aroma, fragrance, and also the flavor of the espresso if you do the slurping.
An espresso shot should always be balanced. You should have a build out of acidity, and then it should be balanced out with sweetness, nuttiness, and some chocolate note at the end.
Espresso machine. A lot of busy people who in the morning, they just want a very consistent shot of espresso. They will just program in a way that's a single button, that's a double button.
First of all, you want to make sure you have your portafilter. We already pre-dosed it, so there you go. We're doing a double shot. It's pre-weighed at about 14 grams of coffee. You want to turn either clockwise, counterclockwise, whichever is easier for you, but make sure you don't do this. I just want to make sure that they're distributed nicely and evenly. Clean the sides of the portafilter. It also comes with a little temper. Hold the temper like you would hold a doorknob and just go straight down. You want to be able to create a even, flat coffee bed. Usually, we do a test. It shouldn't fall out. Lock it in. It's usually a up and a twist motion. Once you have the portafilter lock in, put your cup in and make sure we tear our scale. And there you go. Your espresso will be ready in less than 30 seconds. And voila.
You can see that it has a lot more crema compared to what I did. I probably have pressed the level a little bit less of pressure compared to this machine over here. You always want to take a spoon, stir them all together.
If you're getting a light roast coffee or a medium roast coffee, you might get a slightly thinner layer of crema, and that's totally normal.
And sip.
Doppio. There are different ways to pull an espresso shot to yield a different flavor profile. And we're gonna start right now with pulling a doppio, which means double in Italian. This is usually what you'll get in a coffee shop when you order any espresso-based drinks. You're probably getting something in between 30 to 40 grams of coffee.
When you order an espresso and coffee project just by saying, hey, can I get an espresso? It will be default double espresso. We're gonna hold a double espresso by grinding the coffee. Pre-dose at 14 grams, an even temp. And my coffee automatically stops at 43 grams. Beautiful crema, beautiful cascade.
Because of the sheer volume of a double shot, it is definitely double the amount of caffeine.
Lungo.
A lungo is a prolonged extraction. We're yielding a bigger cup of espresso, and for people who usually order a lungo, they usually would like to taste a little bit more of the roast profile compared to just like the bean profile.
You get a lot more of the sugar browning flavor, like chocolate, caramel, or hazelnut. These are the taste notes that comes from extraction in a later cycle of the shot. We're still gonna use the dose of a double espresso.
Even distribution, 90 degree. We actually programmed the single shot to be a lungo shot. So now we're actually pulling almost double the amount of volume that came out in the double shot.
For a double espresso, we are extracting between a 20 seconds to a 30-second shot. With the lungo, it is prolonged to close to about 40 seconds.
At the end of the day, when you are dialing in an espresso shot, it's all governed by taste.
When we're extracting espresso for a longer period of time, whatever we're yielding is actually the roast profile a little bit more. What you get from the sugar browning process during extraction. So you get a little bit more of the chocolate, the caramel, the hazelnut, lower acidity, lighter body. It's meant to be like a sipper instead of like what we all used to espresso being like in a shot.
Ristretto. So ristretto is essentially an espresso shot that you're pulling with a finer grind size, yielding a smaller cup of espresso. You want to make sure you're using a finer grind size, so we're going to go ahead and adjust that just a teeny bit. Whenever you adjust a grind size, always remember to purge your grinder. You're like, Kalina, that's a waste. Is because you want to be able to make sure that you're using the real grind size, the one that you just changed, and not the reminiscence of the previous shot.
Ristretto is actually cutting short the brew time. Since we're stopping it a lot sooner, what you're getting is like a punch of acidity, sweetness, and a really concentrated cup of espresso. Really tiny, really thick. You see the ratio between the crema and also the coffee is almost 1-to-1, and it's a lot heavier in body. This ristretto shot is yield around 20 grams at around 20 seconds.
As much as people believe that it has a very high level of caffeine, a shot of espresso actually has less caffeine compared to a 12-ounce cup of coffee.
Americano. Hot water filled up, and then we top it up with a double shot of espresso.
So you always fill the water in first before you put the shot in there. And that's because if you're doing it the other way around, you basically dissipate the layer of crema. And you defeat the purpose of an Americano. There you go. Hot water.
You are totally in control of how much water you want in your cup of Americano.
Tamp down.
So once you get your double espresso shot, all you gotta do is just pour it right into your cup. And now you can see how the crema stays afloat. You still retain all this quality that you get from an espresso, the boldness, the punch, and then that creaminess, but now it's a bigger drink. Cortado. 2 shots of espresso and then top with equal amount of steamed milk.
A favorite among a lot of baristas because you still get that, punch of espresso in there, but it's sweetened by, the same amount of milk.
Cortado also comes with another name. Sometimes if you go to a coffee shop and you see the word Giobrata, is the name of this cup.
Right, so we have our double shot of espresso. You want to first let the water that's built up in your steam wand out. So you're gonna turn it on just to release most of the water. Once you see steam, you can stop. And when you're frothing, few rule of thumb. It's gonna take a few seconds for it to kick in, but we buried the steam wand in there. You always want to anchor your spout on the steam wand, so it kind of guides the movement of your steaming. And you also want it to go in at a certain angle. Take a look at how the tip of the steam wand is hovering above the milk. You want to make sure that is sort of buried in the milk. You want to just slowly slide down, break the surface a little bit, so the steam wand is able to push some air into your milk, and that is what's going to essentially create microfoam, that creaminess that you get from a cappuccino or a latte. Once it starts turning hot, you are going to slowly glide back in, incorporate the air that you added in earlier into your milk, and that's what's going to create that silky smooth milk texture. All right, when it's slightly hot to touch, you're going to turn it off. Clean your steam wand and release whatever milk that is hot inside. Okay. Sometimes when you're frothing, you get some big bubbles in there. Just hover your hand and tap, and you're gonna get silky smooth milk. Something that looks like shiny paint. It sort of lingers on the side of the wall. You are going to fill.
So this is the Cortado, 2 parts of espresso, which is a double shot, and also equal parts of milk to fill up the glass.
At Coffee Project, most of our baristas will often end a cup of espresso-based drink with latte art. It's still gonna taste good regardless of whether you can pour an art or not, but your eyes eats first.
It's very chocolatey, nutty, but at the same time it's sweet, and it has a lot of stone fruit from the roast profile itself. This is a lot of coffee professionals' favorite drink. Piccolo latte. For Cortado, we're using a double shot of espresso as base, but for a piccolo latte, we're actually using a ristretto shot. Ristretto shot is gonna give you a lot more sweetness and a little bit high in acidity just because it's a little bit cut short and concentrated. So if you want something sweeter and a little bit more higher in acidity, you would go for a piccolo latte.
So I'll be cutting it at about 20 grams.
So when you're frothing, you don't want that screeching high pitch. This is the sound of the froth. You have probably 1/3 of the beverage itself is espresso, and you will fill up with froth warm milk.
Classic heart.
Piccolo latte is not much found in a lot of coffee shops in New York City. If the coffee shop has Australian culture to it, then you probably will be able to find a piccolo latte. Cappuccino.
2 shots of espresso as a base, followed by a frothier milk on the top. Slightly stronger than a latte because it has slightly less milk and a little more foam in there. So pulling a double shot of espresso on the side. We're gonna start with the same procedure, and we're gonna just prolong this significantly longer compared to a latte. Once it starts getting warmer, dive that steam wand into the milk, incorporating all the air that we added in earlier. So you get a thicker, foamier milk texture compared to a latte.
A lot of times you will see baristas pour half, mix them all a little bit, and then continue to pour. It's gonna give you even creamier cup of espresso and cappuccino. And when I drink a cappuccino, I like to do this.
And
when a latte drinker wants more coffee flavor in their coffee, they will start going down to ordering cappuccino. Flat white. If I like the flavor of cappuccino, but I find it a little bit too foamy and a little bit too milky, what can I go for? A flat white. It's between the amount of milk of a cortado and a cappuccino. 2 shots of espresso in a 5-ounce cup. It's a smaller drink compared to a cappuccino. Froth, milk.
there is a shorter aeration time, so meaning we're adding slightly less air compared to a cappuccino, fairly similar to the way we would froth a latte. You're trying to create a vortex in your milk. Clean your steam wand, purge your steam wand. With a shorter aeration time, you are letting less air into your milk, which will create slightly less foam. We're trying our best not to break the crema. So you're gonna start pouring at a higher level, and you're incorporating the milk into the drink as much as you can. And then at the end, you will just slightly mark it with a tiny little heart. It's a texture that is like softer, but there's not a lot of foam on the top. So when you sip it, you're actually getting a stronger first sip of coffee. And that's what a lot of people are looking for when they order a flat white. Macchiato.
2 shots of espresso with 1 ounce of milk into it.
A double shot. And then we will froth our milk. What you do is just taint the espresso with a dollop of milk. A traditional macchiato.
The macchiato will definitely be a lot bolder than all the espresso-based drink with milk that we've made so far. It has the strong punch, and so when you take a sip of it, you will get all the crema, espresso flavor, and then the sweetness of the milk will cut through. Latte macchiato. Macchiato is like tainting something. With the traditional macchiato, we're tainting the espresso with milk. And now when we mention latte macchiato, we are tainting the milk with espresso.
We are pulling a double shot.
10 ounces of hot milk. And the goal is to create that layer on the beverage by waiting for the foam to separate a little bit. And then you top it up with your espresso shot. This is the latte macchiato. When this drink is done right, you will have a layer of white foam right above your beverage, and then the color at the bottom is gonna look like coffee.
Breve.
Breve is another form of milk that is made out of half and half. So in a coffee shop, you can actually ask for a breve latte, breve cappuccino, even a breve cortado.
Double shot. Give it a little bit of air, and it should be enough.
It's a lot heavier compared to whole milk or skim milk in general. This is a breve cappuccino. It tends to coat your mouth a little bit more, and it leaves a longer aftertaste, almost like a drinking ice cream. Red eye. We get this a lot in the morning, especially on Mondays, because a red eye is a full 12 ounce of drip coffee topped with a double shot of espresso.
Too much caffeine. Double shot.
Just like an Americano, for better experience, you want to have your drip coffee first and then float your espresso right above it. Feel free to add any sort of milk in there as well. It is actually very intense in terms of flavor. Most of the people who order this are like people who work in like financial district, like have to wake up really early in the morning or get off work really late, like production. Mocha. Mocha is actually a latte with chocolate added into the espresso as base. One of the most favorite and the most popular thing to add into espresso to make into a beverage is chocolate. You can add any type of chocolate you like. So what we have here is actually a chocolate ganache.
You will take the shot of espresso And pour it into the chocolate to melt the chocolate first.
And then gently stir it. You will see the consistency of your espresso thicken up. The smell of chocolate, sweetness. This is delicious on its own as well. And now, just like a latte, you will pour your hot milk into the mocha sauce and also your espresso. And we can take some chocolate and have it grated on the top of it. Mocha is definitely one of the favorite drinks in a cafe.
Espresso Romano.
That's a mixed review for espresso paired with lemon juice. I like the sweetness out of it, and I also like how it's being served with the lemon juice. Will I drink this every day? Maybe not.
So first of all, you're gonna prepare a double shot of espresso.
You will put it into the clear glass. And then you have the 1 ounce of lemon juice that is freshly squeezed directly into it. And finally, you need lemon zest. Lemon zest is actually a very commonly found tasting profile for coffee that is from Ethiopia. Super fresh. I can smell the sweetness.
Dirty chai.
Chai tea is a tea that is brewed together with a lot of spices and black tea. But today, we're tainting the chai latte with the double espresso.
We are going to pull a double shot.
We will put this chai concentrate into the milk to froth together.
The flavor is being basically distributed throughout the whole drink a lot better. It smells really good when you're frothing it. And to complete it, you just combine both of them together. There you go.
You get a little kick from the espresso, not as much, because the chai itself with the spices is kind of, I wouldn't say overpowering, but they are almost the same level as espresso. It's gonna be a little bit more balanced, like a hearty tea, but with a kick from the caffeine. Syrup latte. Coffee Project does homemade syrup and also bottled syrup. This Earl Grey syrup is actually homemade.
1 part water, 1 part sugar. That is basically a simple syrup. Steep the tea bags in together with the water, let it sit for a prolonged period of time, do it for like 3-4 hours, and then just add the sugar in, melt everything, and there you go.
All you gotta do is just place the syrup at the bottom of your cup. It's about 1 ounce of the syrup.
And complete the whole drink just like you would do a latte. A double shot of espresso into the cup, right into the syrup. Froth the milk, and then complete the drink.
And here we have the Earl Grey syrup latte. So the bergamot from the Earl Grey just sips through. Mixed really nicely with the espresso, which is a little bit more stone fruit, chocolate forward. Sweet enough, but not too sweet. And the texture is just right.
So coffee has always been an ingredient that's used in cocktails.
It's like it's helping to elevate the flavor of the coffee, at the same time let you enjoy the booziness. Espresso martini. An espresso martini is essentially a mix of vodka, coffee liquor, and also espresso with your choice of syrup and shaken over ice, served on a martini glass. It's not too straightforward alcoholic, and you still get to enjoy all the coffee flavor. We always want to put in all the ingredients that is not alcohol first. Here is the cinnamon syrup, 0.5 ounce of it, into your shaker. Now we're gonna add equal amount of espresso. It's almost 1 full shot. And coffee liquor, generally it's already sweet, brings a little bit more of the coffee flavor out. 0.5 ounce of it. And finally, the vodka, a full shot, 1 ounce. When we pull our espresso, we would like to have it cooled down a little bit. Make sure you're only putting in the ice cube. And right away, you're gonna shake. Give it a really vibratory shake. Strainer, it's gonna be helpful. All you want is this creamy espresso martini that comes all the way out. So it looks like crema. What we like is a little touch of chocolate. Staying with the classic, let's float 3 espresso beans on top of it. And here you go. This is the best I've made since yesterday.
Corretto.
Corretto is a really easy dessert coffee liquor to make. Find your favorite brandy and then serve it over a double espresso. After I pull the espresso, I'm gonna pour it into my cup. So for brandy today, we chose this grappa. It has a really nice almond flavor to it, and I think it's gonna pair really well with the double espresso that we have in here. You can just drop it however much you want in there and sip your espresso. I think this is more of an after dinner drink, but I think it's just really nice to make at home. As long as you have a double espresso and a brandy of your choice, you can pretty much serve Corretto anywhere. Beer Presso. We make up this name. Beer is my second favorite drink after coffee. For this drink, I realized that lager works a little better, but with our espresso that we're using today, I have picked a shandy because it has a little bit more refreshing aftertaste to it, a little lemony, so it's a great summer drink. I pick a highball glass because I like to see how it falls. And you want to wait a little bit before you put your espresso into your shandy or your beer of choice. If not, it's just going to explode. Drop espresso onto it, however much you like. If you have a long spoon, just pop it in, mix it a little bit. It kind of reminds me of the hot espresso romano that we made earlier with the lemon twist onto it, but this is like a little bit more elevated, lighter, and it's easier to drink because it's more refreshing. Paloma. We give the original Paloma a little bit elevated experience. We're always gonna start with the non-alcohol, lime juice, lemon syrup, which is also 3/4, 1 ounce of grapefruit juice, followed by 1 ounce of espresso. It's always better to let the espresso sit for a little bit to cool down so it doesn't melt your ice. And last but not least, 2 ounces of tequila. Before we put the ice into the shaker, we want to be able to create the base of the Paloma. Tonic water. We love to use tonic water as a base for most of the drinks that we make. Now is the ice. Pop it. Then we're gonna shake it. The ratio, it's almost like 3/4 of tonic. And then the remaining is gonna be the Paloma shake. Garnish it with a lemon zest. And that's our take on a Paloma with espresso. On its own, it's really like super refreshing. So with the espresso on it, it kind of just mellowed down the acidity in the drink. At the same time, it gives you a little bit more of the nuttiness.
Espresso is a really good base to use in dessert drinks. It's able to withstand anything that you add into it, and you'll be able to still taste coffee. Frappe. It's a Greek drink that people drink a lot during summer. You need ice. For the base of the frappe, you'll be using milk or a non-dairy milk, your choice. And of course, our most important ingredient, espresso. Blend away. I like where it is sort of liquidy, but you can still get tiny little pieces of ice in there. And you just pour everything out. It's a fairly easy drink to make at home. You can be a little fancy and top it with whipped cream and garnish it with cocoa powder. So this is a frappe when your friend comes over to your home during summer. Very easy, very fancy drink to make.
Affogato.
You see affogato in a lot of dessert menus in Italian restaurants. Very straightforward. Ice cream topped with espresso.
I always choose vanilla ice cream with affogato simply because it enhances the flavor profile of the espresso the most.
Kind of like a plain canvas. It'll take on any other flavor. Very easy. You just pour espresso directly over the ice cream. It makes for a visually stunning dessert. It's strong, you still get that, coffee espresso flavor in it. But at the same time, you get the sweetness and creaminess of the ice cream. You dig in and delicious. It's really good. You see the layering of the espresso and the ice cream, and as it melts, the color sort of changes. It's really beautiful, and it's really, really easy to make at home. So around the world, people pull different espresso shots using different machines and gadgets. And today we'll be showcasing just a couple of those. Vienna coffee.
So for Vienna coffee, we're also going to be using double espresso shot. We add a little bit of a chocolate powder at the bottom of our cup to add the additional layer of flavor into our Vienna coffee. Pull a double espresso, pour it right into the chocolate, and then you will mix it to create that really thick texture.
And while she is melting the chocolate, we will be frothing some milk. So to complete the drink, you just basically top it up.
And you can use cream, you can use milk. The goal is to create that really heavy texture and frothy, and you see them separate and create a layer of foam on top of it. And top it up with this whipped cream. Since we're using chocolate at the bottom of the cup, I think it's also a really nice touch to add a little bit of chocolate on top of it. It's relatively similar to the mocha beverage that we made earlier. In mocha, we're still having more espresso forward. This is entirely trying to make it as chocolate as possible, really creamy, and still get a little bit of that espresso flavor to it.
Cafe Freddo. The Freddo is mainly drank in Greece and Southern Europe.
You need to pull a double espresso. You need ice and you need some sugar, and you can sweeten your espresso as you like. Here I have close to 1 tablespoon. You don't stir it, you will put it into your shaker with a lot of ice cube. Shake it like a cocktail. After shaking, you will have this nice chilled espresso. You still get a little bit of that heavy body, long-lasting aftertaste. I've seen some people actually put them into a glass of cold milk.
Turkish coffee. The main device that is used is an ibrik or a çerçeve.
We start with finely grind 7 grams of coffee into the ibrik. Unlike brewing like regular espresso, there's no pressure. We're using 70 grams of room temperature water. I'm gonna turn this on to high, and as soon as I move this ibrik to the fire, I'm gonna start my timer. And in about 2 minutes or so, this will be ready. You will see that it is slowly simmering, and once you get a little bit of foam on the side, turn your fire lower. And all this could happen within like a minute to a minute and a half. It's happening now. And I am at 30 seconds. So now I'm gonna like lower down my fire while maintaining my distance. You will see there's a layer of crema that is built up on top of it, and we really don't want to lose it. The biggest challenge of brewing ibrik this way is actually over extraction of the coffee, which makes your coffee really bitter. And we're gonna pour it directly into the cup. See that really, really nice layer of crema above it? That's the goal. There's no filtration method, which is why you grind your espresso really, really fine, hoping that after you pour it and you wait it for it to settle down, all the grinds is gonna be at the bottom of the cup. So when you drink it, it will just maintain at the bottom of it. It has all the characteristic of an espresso beverage. Bold, strong, thick crema right above it, really, really heavy body. So compared to a regular cup of espresso, I think they are relatively similar. There's always an espresso-based beverage for everyone.
Just remember that espresso is a type of brewing method. You can just go ahead and look for a coffee bean that fits your favorite profile and make a cup of espresso for yourself.